You're listening to Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar. In the blue corner, we've got Mr. Karle supporting Tottenham. In the red corner, we've got Mr. Kenner supporting Arsenal. Together, they will be discussing all of your football views, all of your football news. So join us here on Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar, the football podcast. I'm Chris Karle. With me, as always, Geoff Saunders. Hello, Geoff.
Hi, Chris. Good to be here.
Right now then, listen, we've got a lot to get through. First of all, let's look at what happened at the weekend in the Premier League, because there were some very strange results there.
Some odd results, yeah.
Yeah, we'll start off with the big one, of course, that everybody's talking about. Manchester City 8, Watford 0. Manchester City coming in off a loss away at Norwich. Things clearly haven't gone awry completely. What happened to Watford? Brand new old manager.
Yeah, they didn't quite get the bounce that you expect a new manager to come up with, did they? But then, of course, he's not a new manager.
No, he's been there before, so probably the players weren't buoyed by the excitement of having a new manager. I mean, 8-0. You know, they've lost to Man City heavily before. I mean, Man City were 5-0 up after 17 minutes. Perhaps like in cricket, they should have declared. Everybody could have gone home early.
Yeah, maybe they should. On the continent, of course, you know where we are, people are saying, oh well, they should have taken their foot off the gas and just maybe score 5 and leave it at that. But I think the City players had a point to prove to their manager. Yes,
the strange thing is, of all people, Sterling didn't score. Which
I know, it's extraordinary.
He was probably the only one that didn't score, which is weird.
Eight goals, and Sterling didn't get them.
No, he didn't, no. People, by the way, are saying that Guardiola is very, very much like Boris Johnson in his leadership style, but at least Guardiola actually affects Sterling positively.
Oh, dear. That's terrible.
So 8-0, that's kind of treated it like a cup final, didn't they, Watford? Again, as it would have been against Man City. But Man City back on track, or still 5 points behind Liverpool?
Yeah, but they're clearly on track, aren't they? And the 5 points doesn't really matter. I mean, how far ahead were Liverpool at Christmas last season?
Well, yeah. So we're all to play for, as they say. Now, your team, West Ham, added to Man United's continuing woes. Let's talk about, first of all, Man United, in the sense that when Solskjær took over and was interim manager, they couldn't stop scoring highly and winning.
Until they played Paris Saint-Germain and beat Paris Saint-Germain. And that got him the job. And after that, it all went downhill, didn't it? Since then, they've played 19 games and scored 17 goals.
That's shocking.
Only on 3 occasions have they scored more than 1 goal in a match.
That's very, very bad. I mean, there have been times when a very boring team has won the league by winning 1-0, but if you've scored 17 in 19, you're not winning every game, are you?
Yeah, and they're clearly not. I mean, it's how can you say it's a relegation performance, isn't it? Their results are a team that would normally be relegated. But of course, it's happening over 2 seasons. So
there is something going wrong at Manchester United. It has been for a long time.
Very clearly something going wrong, and maybe what's going wrong is they have this focus on their commercial deals, but who's looking at football? For over a year now, they've been saying, oh, we're going to get this director of football or whatever he's called. Doesn't appear to have arrived, and Manchester United don't appear to be very good. They're set up as a counter-attacking team, which they showed very well against Chelsea in the first game. Chelsea attacked them, they counter-attacked and scored a load of goals. Teams that are prepared to sit back against them, haven't got a clue. They don't know how to create a goal.
No, the goals just aren't coming. I mean, in the last third, they just sort of disappeared. Solskjær said he was taking a lot of positives away from the game.
Really? What?
I don't know. Maybe the intercity rail link is faster than it used to be and he got home quicker. I don't know. I didn't see any positives in that game. West Ham were a superior team.
Oh, very clearly superior, yeah. Very definitely. I mean, Manchester United's managing director, Richard Arnold, who most people have never heard of, he spent so much time lining up official mattress partners and official wine partners, they forgot to engage with what you might call the official football partner.
Yeah, football's part of what they do, isn't it?
Earlier this year, when he was supposed to be helping them sign players during the transfer window, he signed a deal with Remington, and the people who make shaving. Remington are now the official electrical styling partner of Manchester United.
The official
electrical styling partner.
Electrical.
Yeah, so they've left space for a non-electrical styling partner. Right, and he said this: our partnership is not only about bringing our fans high-end styling product. It aims to inspire and encourage individuality through powerful activations and campaigns with both Manchester United's men's and women's team. I mean, what a load of bollocks.
Good grief.
And that helps the football team how?
I understand that, times move on and things evolve, and now having 20-odd sponsors is important, but some of those have absolutely nothing to do with football and have no relevance to football fans. Are they going to buy any of those products? But where's the improvement in the team?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they have an official digital transformation partner.
Who now?
I don't know. I've been in business a long time, and I don't know what an official digital transformation anything is.
Digital transformation
partner, yeah.
Wow.
They have M. Lilly. It was one of the ones they signed this year. The official global mattress and pillow partner.
Global mattress
and pillow. So not just mattress and not just pillows, but both.
It's quite ironic, actually, thinking about it, that they've got a sponsor that sells mattresses and pillows, when I should think after the performances, most Man United fans are getting sleepless nights.
And New Era, who apparently are the official leisure headwear partner. So if you produce business headwear, then there's still a gap for you in Man United's portfolio. To contrast that, now if all that is used to generate money, to buy players, to make the team better, great. But it isn't, is it? They wasted 3 months doing these negotiations instead of signing Maguire at the start of the transfer window, letting Solskjær work for 3 months with him setting up a new defence. 80 million, and then in the end they paid exactly what they were asked for 3 months before. And they did these deals instead. How did that help the football team?
Well, it didn't. Clearly, there is this problem with the signings. At the same time as you're telling us about global mattress and pillow partners and electrical grooming kits and all this, Liverpool chief executive Peter Moore has had a little bit of a snipe at Man United. Mm-hmm. He said that Liverpool are now back on their perch, referring, of course, to Sir Alex Ferguson's comment many years ago about knocking Liverpool off their perch. Yeah. Liverpool are back on their perch. He then went on to say that this is the way football works. You drive revenues so you can afford to buy a goalkeeper or a centre-half that will win you games. Then you win games, and sponsors want to be part of the story, as you've mentioned. So they write you a cheque, you take that money, and then you buy better players, then you win more games. The man's a genius. He has to tell the other clubs.
Yes. Why had nobody thought of that before?
No, but I mean, is he having a go at Man United there with that?
I think he's inviting you to compare.
Which is exactly what you were doing there.
Yeah, because he mentioned the goalkeeper they bought and the centre half that they bought. And you're invited to say, oh, okay, so what have the others done?
That's lovely from Moore there at Liverpool. Liverpool sort of back on the perch. I mean, European champions after all.
They are carrying on from last season, which is a surprise to some people, because some people thought, well, they were so good last season that you couldn't do that again, but they appear to be.
Last couple of games sort of winning ugly, as they say. Yeah. We're going to talk about their most recent games because they were in the EFL, the Carabao Cup, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But back to the Premier League, what happened this weekend? Tottenham were away at Leicester, who we have said on this podcast are strong contenders for a top 6 finish at least. Yeah. Tottenham beaten 2-1. Is there a crisis at Tottenham?
If this was happening in 3 months' time and the sort of average results were the same, you'd have to say yes. But it's 5-6 games in. It's too early to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Tottenham fan, as you know, and I read a lot of these fan sites and Facebook pages. Some fans are saying Pochettino's taken us as far as we can go. We're a Champions League finalist. Yeah. It's the 5th game into the season. We have just been knocked out of the Carabao Cup, the old Football League Cup, by Colchester, who are 70 places below us in League 2. I mean, he played a weakened team, but still, fans are in uproar that we went to penalties and we lost. Mora took us to the final of the Champions League with a late goal. He missed his penalty. Eriksson was off form. He missed his penalty. We get knocked out. For me, as a Tottenham fan, these things happen. We're 5 games into the season. We're only a few points off 4th or 3rd. We're probably where we were this time last season, points-wise. So, where's this crisis?
No, there is no crisis at the moment. You've only played 6 games, and it is what it is. If you're out of the Carabao, is it Carabao?
Carabao, yeah.
Oh, God, who cares? I mean, really, who cares?
Yeah.
And I'm quite sure that the Tottenham players and Pochettino don't actually care. It's more one less thing to worry about than the chance of winning something, to be honest.
Yes, if they'd have won it, they'd have been into the last 16 of the last 16, 11 are Premier League clubs, which is to be expected.
Exactly.
But one team that did get through is Oxford United, who beat your team, West Ham, 4-0. 4-0.
I'm actually quite pleased. I think great for them, and I really don't care that we lost.
It is another trophy, but it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't
get you anywhere. And if we go back to Pochettino and that, there is no win for him in this. If he wins the Carabao Cup, doesn't matter.
Yes.
So what's the point?
Yeah, and then people will say, the fans, the fickle fans will say, it's great, we won as you say, the Carabao League Cup, concentrated on that, and that's why we kept losing Champions League games. So either way, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
No.
But with the Pochettino thing, he did come out after the Colchester game and say, the team is unsettled. He's got to get things right on the training ground because, the players, there's some disruption. So he is, again, coming out and saying there's something wrong. And Real Madrid are after him, allegedly. Is he making these noises as in a come and get me? Or is he just protecting his team? Or what's he doing? And, you say there's no crisis, but he is saying different kind of things, isn't he?
I think if you look at what Harry Kane said after the weekend's matches, that's very much a come and get me, I think. So maybe the two of them are both thinking, well, where can we go now? And Kane sounds pissed off about his teammates, definitely.
Yes, well, it was in the papers this morning and online that obviously, Real Madrid are thinking of luring Pochettino and Eriksen to Real Madrid. And in light of this and the fact that if Tottenham don't win anything by the end of this season, Daniel Levy, the chairman of Tottenham, will put a £240 million price tag on Harry Kane in an attempt to stop clubs luring him away. Because if they don't win, he'll be gone. That's what they're saying.
Right, okay, but this £214 million price tag only has any effect if it's part of Kane's contract, if that's the buyout. Otherwise, the normal rules of the market apply, and if someone comes along and offers 120, I'm quite sure Levy will snap his hand off.
Yeah, how much is Kane worth then, do you think?
I think in the current market, with the amounts of money that have been spent, probably worth 100 million, yeah.
They've got to be worth at least that, I think, in the current market. We're going to have a little look at some of the best players in the world in a moment because we're going to talk about the FIFA Best of the Year awards. But just to round up, we think there's a problem at Manchester United. How long is Solskjær there for? Is he on his way out?
I think he's on his way out. A lot of the journos have been coming up with dates when he'll go round about the end of October, the end of a round of the European matches where it becomes obvious that Manchester United are not going any further, will be the point at which the M. Lillys and Remingtons and New Era people will, and maybe the West Asian noodle partner will call time on him.
Yeah, so he's only got his couple of games, basically, to prove himself. Yeah. Who's going to go in his place? People kept saying he's got to be given time to rebuild. It is 5 or so years since Ferguson left.
Well, 6, yeah.
I mean, people are calling him the Norwegian David Moyes now, so that can't be good. Borrowed time. I do think he's on borrowed time. He'll be gone by the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, I think he'll be gone before Christmas, but yeah.
Okay, let's turn our attention to this FIFA Best of the Year awards. Some very strange ones there. To start with, of course, the goalkeeper of the year went to Alisson of Liverpool. Yeah. I think we think that's understandable. Did win a Champions League and come very, very, very close to winning the league. Yeah. So that's probably a reasonable choice. Coach of the year, Jurgen Klopp. Happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And Jurgen Klopp announced and encouraged people to join Juan Mata's scheme where managers and coaches are encouraged to give 1% of their income to good causes. He did promote that, and he was all smiley and everything. I think we'll talk about Jurgen Klopp because there's something about playing under him, I think, that gets the best out of people. I saw an interview this week with one of the Liverpool players and they said, describe Jurgen Klopp in one word, and he said, nuts. That was one of his players.
That was Oxlade-Chamberlain, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Oxlade-Chamberlain.
It was a very good interview. That
it was. He came across very well.
He clearly loves Klopp, and the players do.
Yeah. And then they asked him to expand, didn't they? And he said he is what you see. He's enthusiastic. He's smiley. He's crazy. But he's just got this great love of the game. And I think that does come across. So, yeah, Oxlade-Chamberlain, I mean, that's fantastic little interview there. Check it out on the internet. Right, so these Best FIFA Awards, Alisson won, as we say, the Best Goalkeeper Award.
Right. I mean, I think that's fair enough. I think it's very close between him and Ter Stegen as to who's the best goalkeeper in the world. But not if you're Uli Hoeneß, apparently. Uli Hoeneß is still president of Bayern Munich, and he's issued a threat to the German Football League that if they select Ter Stegen instead of Neuer, and ter Stegen is now a much better goalkeeper than Neuer, then he'll load and there'll be trouble and there'll be all sorts of legal shenanigans. This is about the coach selecting the players. Yeah. And this president is saying, well, ter Stegen's not better than Neuer, when most of the rest of the world believes ter Stegen is maybe the best goalkeeper in the world, and certainly a lot better than Neuer at the moment. But as regards this FIFA thing, yeah, Alisson's better.
This one that pleased me greatly, Megan Rapinoe, of course, scored the most goals at the Women's World Cup, won the Women's World Cup. She was voted Best Women's Player of the Year. Absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever.
None whatsoever. She should have got there should be an overall best of the year, and she should have done it.
So she could have beaten.
It wasn't just about the goals she scored. She turned games around. She made that team play. I mean, she was the difference.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, if I've ever seen and she's very, very talented, skilled footballer.
Very much so, yeah.
Doesn't matter if she's male, female, whatever. She could get into a lot of Premier League teams, I think. Her pace and her enthusiasm on top of the skill and everything. But also, she uses things like this award to make public stands on various things. Tipped her hat to Raheem Sterling for his stance on racism and anti-racism, to use the platform very well. She's a very eloquent woman, a very talented woman. Well done to Megan Rapinoe. Should have been overall best in the world.
Yes.
But she isn't, because Lionel Messi won Best Player of the Year. Virgil van Dijk was beaten into second place. What do you make of that?
I would have given it to Virgil van Dijk, because he was the difference to a Liverpool team that made them win the Champions League. There is a reason why he didn't get it, and the reasons are twofold. One, that people think that the biggest difference is Klopp, and Klopp had the biggest influence in that Champions League. Well, okay. And Messi, if you look at what Messi did, you have to look at the timescale for these things. Qualifying period for this award was 9th of July 2018 to 13th of July 2019. So it's what happens in that period. In that period, Messi played 58 games, scored 54 goals. He captained Barcelona to another La Liga title, and he won the European Golden Boot, and he was also the Champions League top scorer. So that's why he won. And all of that is pretty convincing reason for him. Going back to the Klopp thing, he did all that despite having Valverde as manager, who's completely useless. So that's the logic behind how these people voted.
Because, I mean, I was going to say that, Messi, what's he done this year to get that? Other players have achieved more, but possibly in that time. And as you say, against all the odds, having that manager, he still managed to do pretty well.
Well, 54 goals in 58 games, so no one's come close to that. He captained Barcelona to another La Liga title, won the European Golden Boot, and was also the Champions League top scorer.
Fair enough. All right, we'll give it to him.
It's about, you can have a football debate about it. It's about what happens on the pitch. So that's what we want, isn't it? That's what football's all about.
That's why we're here. I mean, those are the major awards, as we say. Rapinoe, Best Female. Lionel Messi, Best Male. Alisson, Best Men's Goalkeeper. Jurgen Klopp, Best Coach. The one I never thought I'd say this in all these words in the same sentence in this order. Leeds United have won the FIFA Fair Play Award. May I repeat that? Leeds United... I can't do it without laughing.
No,
Leeds United and Fair Play Award. Most fair... I mean, a what?
I know.
Hello?
We're going to have to rename them. They're not quite as nasty as they used to be, Leeds.
Yes. You've been misjudged award.
Yeah, but isn't that just on the basis of one action by Bielsa, allowing that team to score?
It is exactly that. It was for letting Aston Villa score against them in I think it was the last game of the season, final day of the season, yeah. They let Aston Villa score after one of the Villa players was down injured, and Leeds United completely ignored it, and they went on to score. Yeah. Bielsa was furious with his players and said, right, after the kick-off, let them walk the ball in, which was a fantastic gesture. It didn't actually affect the end of season for either team.
No.
As far as would they go up, would they stay down, would they be in the playoffs. Nevertheless, a wonderful gesture, the sort of thing you expect from Bielsa.
Very much so, yeah.
But you never know what you're going to get from Bielsa, actually. So, it's one of many things that could happen. But yeah, Leeds United have won the
in the same sentence. I know.
Yes, it's bizarre.
Billy Bremner will be turning in his grave.
Yes, nasty Leeds. Whatever happened? What's happening to the world? We're more than halfway through the show. We better have your trivia question, Geoff, for this week.
In Serie A, the Italian Premier League, the team that is top is Inter with 12 points, second place Juve with 10 points, and third place Napoli with 9 points. These three teams have something in common at the moment. What is it?
All right, we will have the answer to that at the end of this very podcast. We shall move on. Now, since, Geoff, you mentioned there Messi and what he's achieved during that year period for those awards, I quite enjoy the debate, but I find it frustrating. Who's the best player in the world, Ronaldo or Messi? It's a bit like saying which is the better fruit, apples or oranges. They're both different. They play in different positions. They play for different clubs. Messi's been at Barcelona since he was a child. Ronaldo's played for 3 big clubs. They play for different national teams, etc., etc. But you have got some facts and figures to compare them. Maybe for the entire world to put this to bed for once and for all.
The pro-Ronaldo people always come up with number of goals. You can't argue with the number of goals. So I thought, okay, well, we'll go and look at the number of goals, shall we? If that is how we're comparing them, and we're not, we're going to ignore the massive superiority in the number of assists that Messi's given compared to Ronaldo, which is practically 0. Then let's just look at them. But there is a difficulty. Ronaldo is 2 years older, so he's been playing 2 years longer. So there's more goals. But if we go and cut Ronaldo's performance off at 32 years old, which is what Messi is now, then Ronaldo has played 776 matches. Messi 778. So it's level. Okay?
Yep.
So it's level. So for the club, Ronaldo scored 487 goals.
Not bad.
Messi 603. Scored on 72% of the times he's played. Messi 88%.
But they do play in different positions.
And they play in different positions. And Messi is more of a creator than a striker. We're only doing this on the Ronaldo scale. These people, the Ronaldo supporters, are saying it's about goals, goals. And yet Messi's better, 16% better. 88% of matches he plays in. These are competitive matches. I've taken friendlies out.
Right, wow. 88%.
88%, right? International matches. In competitive international matches up until the end of the previous season, Ronaldo, 64 goals. That's 62%. Messi, 36, 40%. So in internationals, in competitive internationals, Ronaldo's ahead by 28 goals.
Mm-hmm.
So in total, Ronaldo 776 matches, 551 goals, a goal, 71% of matches he scores. Messi 778 matches, 639 goals, 82%. If we just take the Ronaldo supporters' argument, he loses on that as well.
Right.
And that's before you start looking at assists, where Ronaldo is nowhere in it. It's like Messi's got 5-6 times as many assists. There is no comparison here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Ronaldo was famous for his distribution and generosity with passing.
I mean,
but let's just be clear, he is one of the all-time best, nevertheless.
No question about that. Just not the best.
So for you, it's Messi, according to your stats there.
I was always prepared to die on the hill that there's never been a better player than Pele. And I saw a reasonable amount of Pele. And Maradona, no, not even in the same league. No, not even in the same league as Pele. But Messi is better. Messi is the only player I've ever seen who not just comes close to Pele, but he is better. Because Pele was just a goal scorer, like Ronaldo, goal scorer. No, fine, and that has its place in football.
Well, yes, scoring goals is quite important.
Yeah. But if you look at, you mentioned that Ronaldo has played for these other clubs, and he took himself out of La Liga and the direct comparison and went to Italy. Okay, so went to Juventus, and he played in his first year. He played 30 matches and scored 22 goals. Now the previous season, Paulo Dybala played 30 matches and scored 22 goals. Exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
So like for like they've replaced.
Like for like, yeah. Right, so you then say, well, okay, but maybe, Ronaldo has improved the team generally. Putting this player in, it's improved the team, so they've done better.
Mm-hmm.
Only no. He scored the same number of goals in the same number of matches. Now, the previous season, without Ronaldo, they played 38, won 30, drew 5, lost 3, goals for 86, goals against 24, so goal difference plus 62 and points 95. With Ronaldo, they won 2 fewer games, they drew 1 more, they lost 1 more, they scored 16 fewer goals, they conceded more, their goal difference was only plus 40, so they were down 22, and the points 90, so they're 5 points worse. By every measure you want to make, that transfer was a waste of money.
I mean, I've already said it's a liability. He's rubbish.
No, he's not rubbish.
But seriously, though,
the problem with it, with what happened was that because Ronaldo insisted on playing where he wants to play, Dybala couldn't play where he wanted to play, so they sidelined, for my money, the second best player in Europe.
Yes, and Dybala now, hopefully, will go to the unsettled Tottenham that wanted to sign him before.
Well, he's got to go to someone, because if you have not watched Dybala on YouTube, I beg you, go and watch him, because he is incredible.
Yes, he's a superb player. That's the awards that happened this week. Let's move on. I want to go back quickly to the Carabao Cup, this EFL Cup, because last night, Manchester United at the Theatre of Dreams, the former fortress, were held to a 1-1 draw. They won on penalties.
By the might of?
Rochdale. Rochdale, who are Rochdale, basically. They not only did they hold Man United, United scored first through Greenwood, youth player, young player. That's nothing. A young fella called Matheson scored for Rochdale. Let's just put this into perspective. Against Manchester United at Old Trafford, playing for Rochdale, he's 16. Matheson, he's back in school today, or if you're listening to this in the future, the day after playing against Manchester United, he had to go back to school because he had a psychology test.
Well, fantastic. So he did the practical the night before.
Yes, at Old Trafford, yeah.
Now he has to do the theory. I mean, what a fantastic day at school he's going to have.
Can you imagine? You know, going to school. So what did you do? What did you see Game of Thrones last night? No, I was scoring against United. Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean,
it's what football's all about, isn't it? There's a story like that. I mean,
it is.
He will always be the 16-year-old kid who scored against Man United at Old Trafford.
I mean, he's obviously got his head screwed on because they obviously had a chat with him afterwards and everything, and he said, as you did, I'll always treasure this moment, but I've got to get back to school because you don't know what can happen, and I need to have a backup, and I want to get my exams under my belt. He said the school and Rochdale Football Club have all been very helpful in rearranging when he can do exams and have lessons. But he said I've got to have a backup, and that's it. So he's got his GCSEs under his belt. Now he's doing this. That's not the end of the story with Rochdale and youth. They also had, Jeff, a 15-year-old on the bench. 15. Wow. So you've got to play Man United in a cup game. What do? You take a 16-year-old, not good enough. We'll take a 15-year-old as well. Brave and wonderful from Rochdale. But the interesting thing here is that he was an unused sub. He was 15. He was on the bench. What an experience for him as well. But Manchester United were obliged by law to find him a separate dressing room on his own because he's under 16.
Right.
So the young lad had to... I mean, it's a bit depressing for him, actually. All the other 16 of them were in one dressing room. He sat there on his own.
Oh, well.
He sat there on his own playing Angry Birds while the rest of them are having the training, having the pre-game talk. But two young players for Rochdale. Well done, Rochdale. We appreciate that.
Well done, Rochdale. But you have to remember, it was only Man United.
It was only Man United. We'll just take the young lads for this one.
And again, they only scored one goal.
And again, United only scored one goal, as you said at the beginning of the show. Before we move to our predictions for this week, I just want to tell you, Jeff, and our listeners a little bit of a funny story, because as a Tottenham fan, I'm very well aware that Daniel Levy, the Tottenham chairman, he's got a bit of a reputation for his negotiating skills. If a player's worth 100 million, he'll offer you 12. There's a fella called Zdravko Mamic, who is actually on the run, but he used to be Dinamo Zagreb's executive director when Tottenham bought Luka Modric from them. He says there's Zdravko he had an interview this week. He's on the run from the police for fraud relating to transfers, funnily enough. But he was interviewed by journalists this week. So
I'd suggest that Interpol hire the journalists to find these people. So they seem to find them where Interpol can't.
Yeah, if he's on the run, Interpol haven't found him, but it's journalists. I know where he is. Yeah, easy. But anyway, Mamic said that they were negotiating the transfer of Luka Modric to Tottenham, and he was sat in Daniel Levy's office. He said, we agreed the terms, which is 23 million euros, 20 million pounds. We agreed the terms, and at the end of the negotiations, I politely asked Daniel Levy for 5 of Luka's jerseys. So Luka Modric would have his Tottenham top, new Tottenham top. So he said, he asked him, can I have 5 of them? And Levy said, no problem at all. When the invoice came, the cheque came for the 23 million euros to pay for Modric, Daniel Levy had deducted the price of the 5 jerseys. He charged them for the 5 jerseys.
Oh, fantastic.
That is amazing, isn't it? This is in an interview. So Zdravko Mamic has actually said this in an interview. It's not apocryphal. It's actually, unless the journalist has made it up, it's actually true. Look, Daniel Levy deducted the price of the jerseys. Ridiculous. Time for us to talk about our predictions for this coming weekend's round of Premier League games.
Yeah, well, let's hope that the players can actually get their act together and do it right this week.
Yes, because we made the predictions, nobody followed the plan, did they? If we're going to give you these instructions, boys, you did say that West Ham would beat Man United, which I didn't expect. But then I think we're going to have to start expecting United to lose, aren't we? That's as simple as that.
Their form is relegation form, but no, they can't lose all the time.
No. Well, let's have a look at what's happening. Steve Kenton isn't with us, but he has sent in his predictions. We'll start with Sheffield United, who are at home to Liverpool. Now, Sheffield United doing better than a lot of people thought.
Indeed. Yeah.
Liverpool doing at least as well as people expected and better. Steve has got Liverpool to beat Sheffield United away from home 3-0.
I would think that's a pretty good shout, actually. I can't see Sheffield United scoring against Liverpool's defence.
See, Liverpool are one of these top 6 sides. I mean, they're a top 2 side, but one of the top 6 who haven't got a crisis in defence. Man United have, Tottenham definitely have, Arsenal have, but Liverpool they're in a separate league with Man City, aren't they?
Well, the closest to a crisis is they're playing their second choice keeper, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. So let's say then you're going for Liverpool also to beat Sheffield United 3-0.
3-0, yeah. Unless Adrian has one of his, shall we call them, moments. But yeah, 3-0.
Well, you and Steve are going for 3-0, so I'm going to go for an Adrian moment and make it 3-1. Bournemouth against West Ham United. Bournemouth also losing in the Carabao Cup this week to Clough's Burton Albion.
Oh, wow.
Beat them 2-0, I think. So, Bournemouth against your team, West Ham United. Steve Kenton has got to have been very careful here. He's gone Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1. I can see where he's going with that.
Yeah, I can too. I hate to agree with Steve, but I think that...
No, none of us like to agree with Steve. But we're all going to have to go... You're going to go Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1. I'm going to go Bournemouth 1, West Ham 2.
Okay.
Just to be different from you two.
All right.
Aston Villa against Burnley. Villa at home. Steve's got Villa 2, Burnley 0. Now, Burnley won last week. What do you reckon for this one?
I don't know. I can't see Villa scoring 2 against that Burnley defence. They're well marshalled. I think probably 2-1 to Burnley.
2-1 to Burnley. Right, so we've got a Villa win for Steve, Burnley win for you. I'm going to go for 1-1.
Okay.
And then we've got Chelsea, who beat Grimsby 7-1 in the Carabao Cup this week. Finally won a game at home. Chelsea 3, Brighton 1 is Steve's prediction. Sounds kind of, again, measured. Kind of. He's actually thinking about these this week.
Yeah, I'd go with that, yeah.
So you're going for 3-1. I'm going to go for 2-0. Chelsea 2, Brighton 0. That's my prediction. Then the next game, Crystal Palace against Norwich. He's got 1-1. Steve has got 1-1. What are you going to go for, Geoff?
I'll go for an away win, 2-1 to Norwich.
2-1 to Norwich, and I'm going to go for 1-0 to Palace. Then Tottenham against Southampton. Tottenham, in disarray, people are saying.
Yeah.
Squad are unsettled. There are some injuries. Lo Celso is out. Ndombele is out.
He hasn't. Has he started a game, Ndombele?
Ndombele has started. He did start. He scored. He scored in the first
that's
game.
Right,
I think.
Yeah.
But he's been out, for the last 2 or 3 games. So Tottenham have got some players out. Steve says Spurs 1, Southampton 0.
I'll go 2-0.
And I'm going to go for 2-0 as well. Wolverhampton Wanderers against Watford, 2-1 for Steve.
This is a relegation 6-pointer.
Well, it is. We never thought we'd say that Wolves were in the relegation battle, but
Watford,
it is.
Actually. He's got 2-2, I think.
Wolves 2, Watford 2. I'm going to go for 1-1. And Everton 0, Manchester City 3 is Steve's prediction for the next one. Basically, with Manchester City, generally, you say 3-0, 3-1, 4-0, 4-1, and it's always one of those. So he's gone for the 3-0 option.
I don't know. I'll have a punt on Moise Kean breaking his duck and scoring, and City getting 4.
You're going for 4-1 to City. I'm going to go for 3-1 to City. So we've got 3-0 to Steve, 4-1 to you, and 3-1 to me. Leicester against Newcastle. Another team that are down in the doldrums, Newcastle.
A very bad team,
yeah. He's got Leicester 2, Newcastle 0. Lucky to get 0 in that one, I think, Newcastle, as they say.
I'll take a shot at Leicester 4, Newcastle 0.
And I'm going to go for 3. So we've got 2, 3 and 4-0. Because Leicester, again, scoring in the Carabao Cup. They're doing well with their goals. Manchester United against Arsenal. This is always a fiery fixture, shall we say. There's always something going on in that game.
Yeah, but there's nothing about the Manchester United team that's very fiery, is there?
Not anymore, no. But traditionally that was a big game, wasn't it?
Yeah. Steve's got 2-1 to Arsenal.
Yes, he has, yeah.
So Manchester United scored 2 goals in one game.
Yes, for the first time in a long time, as you pointed out earlier in the show.
But it is Arsenal.
But it is Arsenal, so if they're ever going to score 2 goals in one game, it will be against Arsenal.
Okay, I'll go 2-2.
2-2, that sounds good to me. It's a tough one because Arsenal have got a great front line.
Yeah.
There are goals there. I'm going to go for something ridiculous. I'm going to go Man United 3, Arsenal 2.
Okay.
Just to be a little bit different. All those games coming up in the next few days. We're just about out of time, but before that, Geoff, let's have the answer to your quiz.
Right. The question was, what is it that now connects Inter, Juve, and Napoli, who are top of Serie A at the moment? And the thing that connects them at the moment is they are all managed by ex-Chelsea managers. Conte is at Inter, Sarri is at Juve, and Ancelotti at Napoli.
So the Chelsea connection working well, first, second and third in Serie A. In a week when Colchester beat Tottenham, Manchester City put 8 past Watford, and Oxford put 4 past West Ham, the headline is Leeds United have won the FIFA Fair Play Award. We'll be back with more from a beautiful and bizarre game next week. Thank you to Geoff Saunders.
You're welcome.
We'll be back next week with Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar.
You've been listening to Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar. Join us again next week for more of their twisted football news, all of their weird football views. You can find them here every week on Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar. We'll see you again shortly.